Industrial Revolution was a period that took place in the 18th century that involved a shift in the United States from a technology-based industry to a more manual labor-based industry. It was a time of new inventions, products, and methods of work, but the results of the Industrial Revolution led to many short and long-term positive and negative effects. One negative effect of the Industrial Revolution was the poor working conditions in factories, which were a big problem during this time. Many people worked in factories, which had very tight spaces and poor lighting. Industrial workers earned less than $500 per year. But why were wages so low? With a long line of people willing to work, employers could set wages as low as they wanted because people were willing to do work as long as they got paid. Many children were industrial workers. They labored as breaker boys, and many died during work. And since families needed their children to work in order to survive, they had no chance for a proper education, keeping them in a cycle of poverty. And working conditions were not good at all. Most unskilled laborers were exploited. They had to work 12-hour days, 6 days a week. If they got sick or were injured on the job and missed work, they were often fired. Living conditions were not favorable either. Overpopulation was overwhelming, having families paying 5 cents each for a roof under which they could rest. They were accumulated in spaces without basic sanitation, water, and pure air. The presence of corruption, crime, and disease infested their lives. The power that captains of the industry ruled over wealth was disproportionate. 9% of the wealthiest Americans controlling 75% of the national wealth, investing it mostly for their extravagant lives, justify their actions as the USA became the world's leading industrial power, ignoring the fact that most of their work was actually done by their badly paid workers, and that they were actually the ones who made all this possible, while they were only manipulating the stock market and had other bad tactics to create monopolies. They had, for example, price fixing. They could set any price they chose for their products regardless of demand because monopolies know their consumers had no choice. Tragedies such as the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire unleashed protests by workers in search of better working conditions, and laws were created restricting the types and hours of work that children could do. This to protect them and motivate them to study. But the arrival of industrialization did not only bring negative consequences for people, but also for the environment. The consumption of immense quantities of coal and other fossil fuels eventually gave rise to unprecedented air pollution. The environmental effects of industrialization were especially concentrated in cities. Unsanitary conditions and overcrowding afflicted many American cities where outbreaks of disease, including cholera and typhoid, were common. Of course, we can't deny that the Industrial Revolution was a time of drastic change, for both the better and worse. Changes like factories, steam power, and more people flocking to the city generally improved life. However, these changes also meant that working conditions declined and massive increases in pollution and disease, and this had a terrible impact on the society living at that time.